Hello everyone, and welcome to a pretty big recap video of my stats, and stats that have been going on somewhat recently. So, the spreadsheet will be in the description. It's one that I work on, I use quite a bit. I'm just gonna put the SoCal regionals in, and then, but yeah, so there have been 3 pretty big events and 2 smaller events, but I think that are still notable. And I'll try to cover them all if I can, or at least as many as I can. So there was Evo, and so I'll pull up the results on each. There was SmashCon, there was Heir, there was Shine, and then just recently, yesterday is the time I'm recording this, I think about 2 days ago by the time I upload this, was Show Me Your Moves 19. And so I still have a little bit of work to do on my spreadsheet to fill out Show Me Your Moves 19, as well as I have quite a bit to do on this tab. This is a new tab. I'm basically placing everybody down to 33rd. Some tournaments I don't have as much for, like Aegis and Super Smash Sundays 64. I'll have less of it, but bigger tournaments like Full Bloom and Genesis, I'll have the full thing. And then yeah, so I've been working on this a little bit. I have been working on this. This is people who I think could be PR'd by the end of the year, and then each of the colors mean different things. So red means they're either inactive or don't have good enough results. And this, if it's dark blue, then that just means they don't have an SSB wiki page, which is, I always have it bookmarked. There it is. It can basically, so I'll pull it up for Fiction because I believe he has one. It tells their tournament placements for the year. So you can kind of see a little bit Evo placements. I know that Fiction then went to News Melee, Genesis, the Mango, Even Bigger Balk. I don't know if this is fully up to date yet or if this is the right person, but yeah, so it'll just kind of show you that. So you probably saw Hungrybox as well, and you can see all of his most recent events. So he's recently gone to Shine, SmashCon, and Evo. I believe he did code to a CFL SmackDown in between there. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, so I think he attended 91. Maybe not, though. 190? I don't know. I'm just yeah, he attended 190. And then, so yeah, that's basically kind of what I'm working on right now. I have a super secret project in here that I'm going to probably have a video on next week. Sorry, I've been kind of slow coming with the videos. I think we're only going to do Mondays at this point. But that's just kind of how it is. I'm getting to be really busy. So yeah, starting with Evo on the tournament recaps, we had Leffen winning it, only dropping 2 games. I think maybe he dropped a game to STJ, but he did really well at that tournament. Took the whole thing over Plup, Hbox, Armada. This cements him pretty high up. Armada, after having an early loss to Swedish, kind of had the comeback. So he had Gatsu, Mewtwo King, Zane, S2J, Mango, Hungrybox, Plup, and then finally losing to Leffen and Grands. But he had a really good run. Plup, I know, was struggling with some stuff, and so I mean he did really good with like the way he was performing, beating Mango, beating out Wizrobe, beating out Westballs, and losing to only the 2 people above him. But I kind of hope to see him back into form in some of these later tournaments, and he kind of has been with Shine, but I'm waiting for another Genesis performance. We had Wizrobe and Mango. Wizrobe, I think that I don't know if it was him or S2J that it was his first top 8, and first top 8 at Evo, and pretty good showing, only losing to Plup in each box while beating out Nun, Nintendo, and Swedish. So really happy to see him up here. Mango also did fairly well this tournament, beating SFAT, Swedish, and Rocky. I kind of hope to see a little bit more out of him. Maybe take a tournament. I know that he has been doing fairly well, though. Shine, at least, he got 3rd, but he lost to Zane, who he has a pretty bad record against. I'll go ahead and pull that up as well on the 2018 SSBM. I'll also have this in the description, and then just for the last thing, so I have them all. My hands hurt. I use this quite a bit. You can find players' wins recently, and it's like really good. So you can see here, like, I think they update like UI type of stuff fairly regularly as well. So here you can see kind of some of Zane's sets at Shine. He lost to Army at SmashCon and Hungrybox, and so you can kind of see some of that stuff there as well. But yeah, then we have Zane did fairly well, lost to Armada and Hungrybox though. Pew Pew and Doc both did really well as Nun. I really wish Nun would have made top 8. He had quite the losers run, I believe. If I go to semifinals, this was also full of upsets. So like, Amsa lost fairly early on to Cobalt. You had Axe down here fairly early as well. I think he lost to Nintendo. Nun down here losing to Dark Atma. You had Shroom down here, which I think might have been expected. Yeah, losing to SFAT, but that's still like a pretty close type of draw. I may be getting that wrong though, and just basing it off of I think Shine top 8, yeah, which Shroom made over Wizzy and Swedish, and I'll get to that a little bit later as well. Absent Page was down here early, Hugs was down here early, KJH, Mewtwo King, who lost to Rishi, and then, yeah, so this was a really big tournament for upsets, and, yeah, so that's about it for EVO. This was a really intense tournament, and I think this will kind of cement some of the winter PR, like who we think is where now, especially with Mewtwo King going down a little bit. Cobalt, I think, is one that's on the rise. Westball is maybe not as bad as we think him to be. I'm really looking at Dreffin as well. You can see through Show Me Your Moves 19 as well. He beat Ginger, he beat Boyd, he beat Prince Abu, and only lost to Absent Page and Fiction, who were both in grand finals. But yeah, so that's about it for EVO. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about SmashCon. I first want to say what a performance from Army and Pew Pew. Like, Army, I'd say for me, is now top 20 for sure, maybe even top 15 at this point. Army has had some really great performances. I think this was kind of like a shake up a little bit as well. So you had Rishi up here, after taking a pretty early loss to Lucky, beating Bladewise, MacD, Laluna, Jake and Shaken, and Frenzy to reach Army, which was a loss, but still did like really well. Zane got ninth, which he lost to Hungrybox and Army, but he beat Junebug, Ginger, and Jake and Shaken. So I think he could have performed a little bit better, but it wasn't terrible for him. Frenzy, I was surprised to see up this high. Junebug, I was a little bit too, but beating IBDW and Darktooth, and only losing to Sane, and only losing to Zane and Lucky was a pretty good performance from him. Drunk Sloth being up here was really weird kind of to see as well. Beating out Army, IBDW, Absent Page, and Vortex. So he had a pretty good showing, and I believe I have him on my... Oh, that was the project, but whatever. I believe I have him on my... yeah, like to look out for. Yeah, he was on last year's PR, and so I think he will... Like, he's one that I'm... Like, unless he had really bad performances, I feel like he will be PR'd again. Absent Page went down pretty low. Same with KJH. I know there were some really wild kind of upsets. Westballs and Swedish getting 25th. SFAT getting 33rd, losing to 42nd and Jerry. I know Jerry had a heck of a tournament, and so, yeah, only losing to, like, Jake and Shaken was kind of a bad loss, but beating Ice and SFAT was really good for him, and really kind of cement him, for the PR, which also, like, he's taken some other pretty great tournaments. But yeah, so there were some pretty big upsets. Jake and Shaken and IBDW, or Jake and Shaken and Vortex were also, I see, pretty up high now. There were quite a few DQs. So Mango ended up losing to Flipsy. Some Ices, I think from Florida. I don't know for sure. But he lost to an Ices, and then I think DQ'd, but his commentary was super fun to watch. It was one of the best grand final sets I had ever seen, between Armada and Mewtwo King. They weren't playing absolutely amazing, but going to game 10 was really well. Pew Pew made it pretty far in bracket, which was nice to see. Hungrybox getting out at third. I feel like he almost... I personally feel like he kind of sandbagged a little bit. Maybe not so much. I feel like he could have probably pulled out a couple of those sets, but I feel like he might not have wanted to. Because I knew he had a flight. And so him not playing like up to speed, I think might have also been partly because of his flight. Like, he wanted to get home. He had work the next day, and so he had planned out his flights beforehand, and then they changed the times last second. And so I feel like he could have maybe pulled this out, but yeah. Leffen also DQ'd, not because of a loss or anything. Wizrobe DQ'd. I feel like somebody else might have, but I can't remember. Oh, Mike Hayes DQ'd. There were quite a few. Moving on to Air 5. This will be a pretty quick one. Datey had quite the performance, beating Professor Pro. He's one that I have to, like, that I think will PR. Yeah, not too much. Leffen won fairly easily. Armada DQ'd from singles, but I think Armada played doubles with Android. Westball's showing a pretty good performance, beating out S2J twice, I believe. No, just once, but also beating out Dady and Triff. Triff had a pretty good performance. I think he beat Professor Pro to get 5th. Losing only to Westballs and S2J, which are solid losses. Ice lost to S2J twice, beating Amsa, the Sheik player, Nikki, and Dady. And yeah, there isn't too much I have to say about this. It was a pretty good tournament. I really liked watching it. Now, Shine was absolutely crazy. I think it kind of shows that PRZ is a little bit of a force to be reckoned with. Also is Show Me Your Moves 19 performance. It kind of shows that Chuda is a little bit back on top. He did lose to Darktooth, but then he beat Thumbs, Westball, Etai, and Hugs to lose to Swedish. And we did see him take a game with his Fox, so that was it may show a little bit of a changing for the tides for Chudat. Maybe not being a solo IC's main and switching off between some other characters as well. I know Gatsu had one heck of a tournament, losing only to Army and Hungrybox. I feel like there was some really great losers runs in this. He ended up beating Michael, Darktooth, Face Roll, Toussaint, Army, and SFAT, and he got his revenge on Army with a 3-0. Barely beat out SFAT, and Hungrybox is a respectable loss. He plays quite a bit though, which is because he's in his region. So, maybe would have liked to see a little bit better from him, but I mean, like, what can I expect? He was like a 40 player. Hold on, what was he at? Yeah, 44th place player, and he got 5th at Shine. So that's definitely gonna boost him up in my books. I think Chudat, maybe top 50, maybe a little less now. But like, this was a really good run for him. I was glad to see Toussaint perform fairly well at another tournament, because I know there were quite a few people saying that Toussaint and Ginger were overrated because of Shine, and they were pretty low to begin with. So Toussaint was 42nd, Ginger was 34th, and maybe I rate them a little bit high because they were at Summit, but I still think like they performed fairly well. So I don't know if Ginger did go to this tournament. Ginger does seem to be at a little bit of a... Yeah, he did. Losing to Drefn and Loluna. Ginger does seem to be falling off a little bit. I would personally right now place him over... hold on, let me pull it off into a separate tab. Yeah, I would place Toussaint over him, just barely. Sorry, I'm trying to hide my project I'm working on as much as possible. But yeah, Kalamazoo did really well at this tournament. That's something I think should be noted. Wizrobe got 9th, losing to Nun and S2J, which are 2 Falcon players. I feel like he could have maybe made the run if he had to face off against Zane in top 64. Because, hold on. Wizzy lost to Nun, and then Nun played Zane, and I think Zane has a pretty bad record against Wizrobe. Yeah, 0-3 at Genesis Full Bloom and CEO. He lost, so yeah. Other than that, there wasn't too much that happened. There were quite a few top, like, higher placing players that got lower. Jerry beating Rocky to place in top 64, only losing to Toussaint and Plup, which were two pretty high placing players, was pretty good. Sorry, it's gonna rain a little bit. But yeah, so I was glad to kind of see Jerry up there. Dreffen, again, I was talking about him a little bit, only losing to Wizrobe and PRZ, beating out Ginger and Boyd. So yeah, that was a pretty good performance by him. And I'm really excited to see more from some players. This really gets me excited about what's to come as well. Last one I want to briefly talk about is Show Me Your Moves 19. Fiction is on the come up. I'm telling you now, he is going to be a top 50 player at the end of this PR season. He beat Cal and then lost to Ginger, and then went on an insane losers run, beating PRZ, Boyd, KJH, Zamu, Dreffen, Absent Page twice. This really kind of I think he's been performing pretty well. He took a couple of sets off of Army, and I for a while was kind of like, okay, yeah, he took a couple sets off of Army. That must just mean he's really good against Ice Climbers, right? But outplacing None, who lost to Michael and Boyd, though, beating Prince Abu and Gorilla. I don't know how to pronounce it. He's from my region, though. So, Michael beat None, which I think that by itself holds up fairly well. Losing to Zamu, who Zamu performed very well. Losing only to KJH and Fiction. Beating Ginger and Michael and Bobby Frizz. It's kind of... didn't know it's KJH for me a little bit. I think before I'd have him at about 18th. Now I have him at about 20th-ish. Beating Zamu and PRZ, losing to Absent Page and Fiction, which were the two people who took it all, but still, I mean, you was second seed going into it, so, Fiction was 4th seed, Absent Page was 3rd, Dreffen was 8th seed, which kind of surprises me, and that's why I think he had, like, almost the biggest come up at this tournament, because if you look at him, look at his tournament, yeah, he didn't have to face None, which might have been the reason he placed a little bit better, going up against Ginger, who I believe was who was placed 5th. Yeah, I'd say, Ginger was placed 5th, and then had the upset on Fiction, but then Dreffen then had just like the easier bracket because he didn't have None. But then he had to play Absent Page, who was 3rd seed. So you had a 3rd seed versus an 8th seed winners finals. So that's kind of a pretty big tell for how this went. He did end up losing to Fiction, but I think Dreffen's definitely, like, at least I'd say he's about top 70 for sure, and I think he might even jump up further. But yeah, so that's about it. We have DreamHack Montreal coming up. We have SoCal Regionals coming up. We have the roast of Hugo coming up. I wrote down the script because I knew I'd forget it, and I think we have the Big House 8 coming up here really soon. So that's going to be a tournament I'm going to kind of report on quite a bit. So, yeah. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and work on some more projects and kind of get some stuff done for this. With that, I'll see you all next time. Remember to keep listening. Bye.